Hello, Reconnective Healing friends. This Wednesday in the Solomon study group, there was a passage that I really liked and I want to share it. And it inspired me to share a story of a session with you. So the passage is, and that is your function in this plane, to bring people to the light, to have them see the understanding in this plane, not after they move on to another one, in this plane. How can I bring people to the light? And later on, Solomon says, the light being perfect understanding and compassion. So I had this session, and as I've shared before, when I work as a psychologist and then we do reconnective healing in the context, like with handicapped people, many times the sessions are really down to earth. It seems that what they notice is very physical, very simple, relaxation. And later I can see the big shifts that happen, but mostly people aren't aware of them. And this was different. There was this guy that is very fit mentally, and he came to change a behavioral pattern that he had identified, and he came with this long story of things that he related to from his childhood, why he behaved that way, and with a lot of anger towards his parents. So just the normal thing a psychologist finds. So I showed him the frequencies. I let him feel them in his hand and observe, and he just looked at me with these huge eyes and totally confused, and he wouldn't say anything, but I could see that it somehow impacted him. And then he agreed to try it, but he said, this is strange, this is weird. And he agreed to try it, but I'm sure it blew his mind to go see a psychologist and then find that he had already seen different psychologists, so it really wasn't what he expected. But he agreed to do it. We did the session. I noticed quite some registers. And when the session was over, he looked at me, and he had his mask on, so I only saw his eyes, but the eyes were so bright and as if he were laughing, but so joyously. And he had a hard time even sharing the experience. So he said, things like warm feet and different sensations in the body. And then when we were done with the debrief, we were already talking about the next appointment. And so it like burst out of him. When you have your eyes closed, normally it's black, isn't it? It wasn't black though, it was white. It was this light, and I saw this light, and I knew that this is how it is when I die, and that it only gets better. And then he was just like looking at me, and he said, well, I'm Catholic, and I think this is what Jesus is, this light. And I said, well, this is what we are. And he said, well, if you had continued, I'm sure I would have seen my grandpa. But for me, the light was in his eyes. He was in this joyful, loving, elated experience. And this was as close as he could get to expressing how he experienced this light. And I told him that many times people, when they do sessions, they perceive things that they don't perceive normally. And sometimes they see people who have died or entities, and that this is really something that may help people to not be afraid of death. And then he just, like he stopped, and I could see how he was thinking and observing. And he said, you're right. I was scared of death all my life, but now I'm not. That is so strange. He just kept being amazed. He couldn't believe it. I got an email like an hour later from the person supporting him in his where he lives, saying that he wanted to stop going to the normal psychologist and that this was so amazing and I had a big new fan. But I think that it's just this experience of our light of source that comes in with whatever information is right for us. And for him it was, about death and oneness with being one with what's after. So yeah, that is how light came up last week. And I think that I do sense this, that being in this awareness can allow for people to find their own light and see their own light. So thank you for listening. Have a wonderful Sunday and a beautiful week, and bye for now.